Yo, SRT gang, it's your boy with the fat SwaggyReacts, and we are back with another reaction video, man. Like, no green screen, no green screen, no green screen. Y'all see my family still over here, bro. And of course I gotta give you guys some more reactions, bro. Shouts out to Mr. Ballen, bro. We about to get into a video, man. He dropped one for us, man, a new one. Know what I'm saying? Today we're gonna be checking out. Even Skeptics couldn't explain how this man vanished. So like, share, comment, subscribe, man. If you guys want to join the family, we're on the road to 100K. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on your way out. That's the only way we're gonna grow, one subscriber at a time. And hitting that like button really helps out the channel and the algorithm, all that good stuff, bro. I ain't finna hold y'all up. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Again, shouts out to Mr. Ballen, man. Let's get into it, y'all. See what he talking about.
Today's video is primarily geared towards skeptics because the story I'm going to tell you today is often cited as proof that we are not alone in this universe, that aliens exist. So, take a listen to the story.
Hey, before we get into the video, how do you guys feel about that? How do y'all feel about that? Like, do you guys really think aliens exist? Know what I'm saying? Like, tell me down in the comment section, bro. How do you guys feel about that, bro? Know what I'm saying? Because me, bro, I believe we not alone, bro. Like it's a lot of weird people up here in this world. I be thinking they aliens, bro. But hey, listen, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let's continue.
And at the end, let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, and I will respond to as many people as I can. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week.
Yes, sir.
So, if that's of interest to you, please invite the like button to come out for a fun night on the town with you, but don't show up and don't answer any of their phone calls or text messages all night. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications.
Over there, like, you want to know what their excuse probably going to be too, like, right? Oh, man, my bad, yo. I ain't know, falling asleep or something, like right on the couch. My bad, bro. You know, just, nigga, knowing damn well, like, you saw all their calls and texts, you just didn't want to go. But you shouldn't, know what I mean? Like,
So you don't miss 1980, a 56-year-old man named Adamsky, who just went by Ziggy, was having a late lunch with his wife and his cousin inside of Ziggy's little brick house in the English village of Tingley. That day had been a particularly stressful day for Ziggy and his family because the following day was Ziggy's goddaughter's wedding, and Ziggy was very close with his goddaughter. Ziggy and his wife couldn't have kids because of medical issues, and so his goddaughter had basically become, at least in Ziggy's mind, like his own daughter. And so in fact, at her wedding, Ziggy was going to be walking her down the aisle. And while Ziggy was really excited about this, he was also very stressed out that he was going to screw it up, and so he had gone over and over, you know, what responsibilities he had as part of the wedding party, and he had this little speech he had to give that he had rehearsed 50 times, he had it written out. I mean, he was ready, but he was very much in his own head about something potentially going wrong that he would be responsible for. And on top of that stress, Ziggy had gotten into a fight that day with his cousin because he felt like the cousin was being kind of disrespectful in some way to his goddaughter, and so Ziggy had stepped up and defended his goddaughter to his cousin, and so there was this undercurrent of tension at the lunch table, not to mention this overarching stress that Ziggy was under about this wedding. And so as Ziggy and his cousin and his wife have this kind of tense meal, Ziggy suddenly realizes that he forgot to get potatoes when he went to the store earlier to buy ingredients for this meal, and for some reason, Ziggy decides, you know what, I'm gonna just put my stuff down now, go to the store, and get those potatoes, even though at this point it was too late to make the potatoes for the meal, and so maybe Ziggy just wanted to go out and do anything to get away from his cousin for a minute, and away from all this wedding planning they were doing, and just kind of go out and clear his head. And so Ziggy put his napkin down on the table, he stood up, he told his cousin and wife that he was going out to get potatoes. They were like, okay, and the cousin actually said, do you want me to come with you? You know, like, is there anything else you need to get while you're out? And Ziggy said, nope, I'm good. He grabbed some cash out of his wallet, and he headed out the door. The village of Tingley, where Ziggy and his wife lived, was a very safe place. He and his wife had actually moved there after fleeing from Poland during World War II, where both Ziggy and his wife, whose name was Lottie, had been held prisoner at some point. And so after all this trauma of being held prisoner and having to flee their home country, they had looked for the safest, best place to kind of resettle and stay for good, and Tingley was it, and they loved it. Ziggy had gotten a job in Tingley as a coal miner, and he had been doing that for 27 years. As for Lottie, she didn't work because she had a disease called multiple sclerosis, which meant she was confined to a wheelchair. But Ziggy and Lottie had quickly made lots of friends in town who were very supportive, and so it wasn't long before Ziggy and Lottie had a very happy and stable life in this town. The little shop where Ziggy was going to was only about 3 blocks away from his house, which meant walking to the store, getting potatoes, and coming back would only take a few minutes. And so Lottie and the cousin back home, they expected to see Ziggy really come back within 10-15 minutes. But when he didn't, and after about 30 minutes went by, Lottie actually got really concerned because Ziggy was just not the type of person to do stuff unannounced. He was incredibly methodical, he was very punctual and reliable, and so being late from this little trip to the store was just so uncharacteristic that Lottie told the cousin, hey, you go to the store and see if Ziggy is there. See what's going on here. Ziggy had worked in the coal mine for nearly 30 years, and he had some serious lung issues from breathing in all of the coal. Right. And so Lottie was thinking, maybe he collapsed or something along the way from these breathing issues. But when the cousin got to the shop owner told the cousin that they had seen Ziggy. He had come in about 25 minutes earlier, he had bought a bag of potatoes, seemed totally normal, everything was fine, and he had left walking back in the direction of his home. And so
here's how fast and easy it is to get pro vocal mixes with Xbox.
Even though I know how it ends, I still come on.
Don't care. Let's go.
So the cousin thanked the shopkeeper and then left and began jogging back towards Ziggy's house, thinking, maybe he had just not seen him on the way, that maybe Ziggy was sitting down somewhere on this 3-block path. Yeah. But the cousin got all the way home and didn't see any sign of Ziggy. And so after going back inside of the house, the cousin and Lottie talked about what they should do, and they actually went back out into the neighborhood asking around, asking neighbors and other people if they had seen Ziggy. But after a couple of hours of canvassing the neighborhood and not finding Ziggy or finding any indication of what happened to him, Lottie ended up calling the police.
Oh man, so what? I mean, he just vanished or something, bro? He just completely disappeared. Like, what do y'all think happened, bro? Think he was murdered and just what? He was what? Oh man, this is weird, man.
Police were not inclined to launch a huge investigation for a grown man who's only been missing for a couple of hours in his neighborhood with no sign of foul play or any other sign that anything really bad had happened. And after the police began asking questions of Lottie and the neighbors about what Ziggy's life was like, they learned that recently Ziggy had been declined for an early retirement from the coal mine. Because of those breathing issues he was having, he had requested to retire now, but they said no, and so Ziggy was really upset.
And that's very unfortunate, bro, because again, coal mining is one of the most hardest jobs that you could have, bro. Come on, bro. Coal mining? Come on, bro. God damn. And bro, come on. I understand they probably needed workers, this, that, and the third, but bro, come on, bro. If it's time for this person to retire, just let them go, bro. They already having certain issues. As far as again, breathing issues, this, that, and the third, who knows, whatever, what other type of injuries that they're dealing with, bro. If they've been there for a certain amount of time, bro, 20 years, 25 years, this, that, and the third, let them go, bro. Come on, bro. Damn.
He had requested to retire now, but they said no, and so Ziggy was really upset about that. He was really stressed about this wedding of his goddaughter the next day. He had been fighting with his cousin. Also, Ziggy was basically taking care of his wife, who's in this wheelchair all the time.
Oh yeah, bro.
And so
bro. He has a lot going on, bro. So I know he's stressed the hell out right now, bro. And they don't bro. Yeah, that's crazy.
All these stressors in Ziggy's life.
That's crazy.
The police started to wonder if maybe it was possible that Ziggy had not been going to get potatoes, but in fact was just kind of abandoning his family. And so ultimately, on the day that Ziggy went missing, the police told Lottie and Ziggy's cousin that they should just sit tight, see if he comes back tonight, and if he doesn't, go to the wedding tomorrow, because Ziggy is so close with the goddaughter. If he's having some sort of issue right now, you know, he's very likely to come back for something as significant as this wedding. And so Lottie and Ziggy's cousin stayed at the house all night. Ziggy did not come back. They didn't hear from him. And the next day they went to the wedding, but Ziggy didn't show up for that either, even though he's supposed to walk his goddaughter down the aisle.
What?
And so after coming back from this wedding, Lottie called the police, she called local hospitals, she talked to all of her neighbors. I mean, she really put out like an all-points bulletin to everybody in the area that something terrible has happened to Ziggy and we need to find him. But despite police beginning to lean into this and her neighbors really going out in force to try to find Ziggy, no one could find him. He had just vanished.
That is crazy. He just nah, bro. Oh man, and
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Back in 2017, when I left the military, I really struggled to reintegrate back into society. But ironically, I didn't know I was struggling. I just assumed that the random bouts of anger and frustration and general dysphoria that I was feeling all the time were totally normal, and everybody else was dealing with these things too. It wasn't until my family came to me and said, "John, we're really worried about you," that I finally kind of looked inward and realized there was an issue, and so I went out and got help. I got a therapist, and honestly, it changed my life. And now, today, in 2023, even though I would consider myself to be very well adjusted and happy, I still see a therapist because maintaining your mental health is just as important as maintaining your physical health.
That's a fact.
So if you are struggling,
that's a super fact. You know what I'm saying? It's, even when you do get established, bro, you still gotta just stay level-minded. Like, don't let the money and the popularity and all that shit get to you now. So you gotta stay just level-headed, bro. Gotta stay level-headed, bro. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause the second you feel like, you know what I'm saying, that you up there like that, it's just telling you, bro.
Struggling right now, you're kind of caught in your own head, and you're open to therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is a highly reviewed online therapy platform, which means you can get the help you need right from the comfort of your own home. Get matched with a BetterHelp therapist after filling out a brief survey, and then it's up to you how you communicate, whether that's through text or chat, or a phone call or video call, or some combination. And if at any time you want to change your therapist, it's free and easy to do so. Go to our sponsor, betterhelp.com/Mr. Ballen, for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp, and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help.
What makes Arcade tight is they have all these sounds for space. You know, it's just a bunch of cool sounds that you can play.
On the morning of June 11th, so 5 days after Ziggy went to get potatoes and then vanished, a man named Trevor Parker got to work at his father's coal yard in the English town of Todmorden. The coal yard was basically just this big open lot that had a chain link fence around it that butted up against some railroad tracks. And inside of this lot were just these huge mounds of coal up against the perimeter of the lot. And then also inside of the coal yard was one small office building. And so on this morning, when Trevor pulled through the gates of this coal yard, first of all, he could see the entire yard the second he went in. And as he looked out, all he noticed was the fact that everything was wet from an early morning storm. And so after just kind of surveying around the lot to make sure none of the coal got blown around from the storm, he made his way to the small office building to do some paperwork. Trevor would work inside of that office building for a while, and then around lunchtime, Trevor decided to just go and get some lunch and kind of have a nice long lunch break. And so he left, he went to the pub, he was there for a couple of hours, and then around 3:45 p.m., he came back to the coal yard, and when he went through the gates, everything looked the same, except there was this dark thing on top of one of the coal piles in the back of the yard. Now, Trevor didn't know if he had seen it when he had first arrived that morning or if it was new, but whatever it was on this pile, it immediately caught Trevor's attention. And so after parking his vehicle, Trevor began walking over to this 12-foot tall coal pile with this thing on it, and when he got about 30 feet away from it, he realized he saw someone's shoe, that this dark figure was a person, and right away Trevor started rolling his eyes because there was a group of homeless people that lived near the railroad tracks just outside of the coal yard, and it wasn't uncommon for them to get really drunk and then wander their way into the coal yard where sometimes they would fall asleep. And so Trevor's thinking, okay, clearly one of these drunk homeless people has found their way into the coal yard and they've passed out on top of this pile of coal. And so instead of going over and talking to this person directly, Trevor just turned around, went back inside of the office building, and he called for an ambulance. The ambulance arrived a few minutes later. They did not have their sirens on. They didn't come flying into the yard. This was a routine thing they were doing. They were scooping up a drunk and bringing them back to the hospital. And so when the medics got out of their ambulance and Trevor directed them over to the proper coal pile, they were just cracking jokes along the way. This was not a big deal. When the two medics got to the bottom of the coal pile, one of them began climbing up the coal to go see this drunk person and get them down. And so Trevor, as this is happening, he walked a little bit closer, and when he did, he realized that the person who had fallen asleep on the coal, they had really nice pants on, like tailored pants. They were certainly not what Trevor expected this person to be wearing.
Yeah, like, ain't no homeless person gonna have no fancy pants or whatever they talking about. Nah, bro. So could this be...
But before Trevor could even really react to the clothes this person had on, the medic who had climbed up had finally reached this person. They reached down and began trying to move the person around. And suddenly, when they had manipulated this person's body enough, the medic's facial expression completely changed. They went from somewhat routine to totally horrified, and they backed off of this person on the coals. They turned around and ran down the coal, practically falling over themselves.
What?
And when they got down there, Trevor heard the medic say to his partner, call the police right now. And Trevor said, what's going on? What did you see? And the medic, who had reacted that way, just shook his head and walked away to kind of compose himself. And so Trevor, at this point, was starting to get spooked himself. Clearly, whatever the medic had just seen had really shaken him up. And so Trevor just kind of stood there while the other medic ran in and called police. And then a few minutes later, a police car came flying into the coal yard, and an officer named Alan Godfrey, along with his partner...
Please don't tell me this like it was like a homicide, bro. Come on, man. Like, oh, man. Please don't. And again, bro, we got to remember, old boy was suffering from breathing issues, bro. So he possibly could have, like, been walking, just lost his breath or whatever, and possibly died that way. But, hold on.
Got out of the car, and right away the medic, who had gone to the top of the pile and been freaked out by what he saw, walked over with a very ashen face, and he told Alan Godfrey that something was terribly wrong with the person on top of this pile. And so Alan, not really sure what to expect, walked over with his partner to this coal pile, and with the medics and Trevor standing back, Alan, on his own, climbed up the coal, and he looked down at this person. And what Alan saw was a man lying on his stomach wearing a beautiful three-piece brown suit, and Alan immediately noticed that there was absolutely no soot from the coal that this guy was laying on his suit, even though Alan, just to get up here, had basically covered himself in black soot. And so he was wondering, how did this guy get up here and not get covered in soot? It didn't make any sense.
Right.
Also, Alan noticed that this guy's hair looked totally bizarre. It looked like someone had given him like a really bad haircut with dull scissors. Like they just grabbed tufts of his hair and kind of chopped randomly. I mean, his hair was kind of all over the place. There were bald spots. And then as Alan looked from this guy's hair down, he noticed almost hidden in his hairline was this fairly deep wound in the back of his neck that was still bleeding, but there was this weird green jelly-like substance very obviously placed over this wound, and Alan had no idea what this substance was. But as weird as all that was, that didn't explain why the first medic had basically completely panicked and run away. When Alan tried to roll this guy over onto his back to try to wake him up and see if he was okay, He rolled him over, and Alan got a look at this guy's face. And immediately Alan let go of him and kind of had to step back for a second, because the guy's face was contorted in this frozen look of absolute terror. His jaw was open so wide, it was almost like his lower jaw was dislocated, and his teeth were baring, and his eyes were bulging out of his head. And so Alan quickly realized that obviously this was not just some drunk homeless person who passed out here. This was a dead person.
Right.
And whatever happened to them must have been unbelievably terrifying to leave someone looking like that in their death pose. It would turn out this deceased man in the coal yard was Ziggy Adamsky.
I knew it. I knew it, bro. I knew it, bro. Come on, man.
But this did not solve the mystery of what happened to Ziggy 5 days earlier. In fact, his discovery really only created more questions.
Bro, like, yeah, what the fuck happened, bro? Like, nigga, we need to know this. What happened?
This town where this coal yard was, Todmorden, was located 25 miles away from where Ziggy lived. And as far as anyone knew, Ziggy didn't know anybody in Todmorden. So there was no reason for him to be there. And number two, when he had left to go get potatoes, he had been on foot. So did he walk 25 miles to this random town?
No way.
Also, assuming he did just walk to this coal yard.
25 miles?
This coal yard is a big, wide open lot that if you were standing anywhere near it, even outside the fence, you could look in and basically see the entire place. So it just seemed really unlikely that Ziggy could just walk into this very public open space and get to the top of one of these coal piles without somebody noticing him. Whether that was Trevor or one of the other employees that were there, or one of the truck drivers that were in and out of there all the time, all day, doing deliveries, or the homeless people who were near the railroad tracks, or the people who rode the trains that passed by there every single day. I mean, there are a lot of eyes on this coal yard, but nobody saw Ziggy. It was like he just kind of appeared at the top of this pile. And again, even if Ziggy
Bro,
had...
there's no way he can just appear. Like, no, someone had to put this man here, bro. And, like, bro, like, oh my God. Like, what do y'all think happened, bro? Like, one of the homeless guys possibly did this, like, murdered her. Like, what happened? Like, carried him, like, on the top of the coal and left him there. Like, yo, this is crazy right here, bro.
Had managed to slip in and sneak to the top of this pile, why didn't he have soot from the coal all over his clothes? And if maybe he had been brought there, if someone had killed him and put him on this coal pile, there's even more reason he would have soot all over him, because they would have had to drag him up to the top of the pile. And even putting all that aside, if someone really did kill Ziggy and they placed him on this pile, why? This is a very open public place. Someone is going to find him. You're going to get caught if you're the killer. And then, of course, there is the issue of what Ziggy was wearing. That brown three-piece suit he was wearing that had no soot on it, it wasn't his, and it wasn't put on right. The buttons were not lined up. It almost looked like somebody else who didn't know how to put a suit on had tried to dress Ziggy. And then Ziggy also did not have an undershirt on. It was just the jacket over his skin. And then also Ziggy had this totally bizarre haircut that looked like someone who didn't know how to give a haircut had cut his hair with scissors and said, you know, good enough. And then, of course, you have this wound on the back of Ziggy's neck. Now, the wound itself was determined not to be fatal. It was a fairly deep cut, but it wouldn't have killed him. However, the most significant part of that wound was that green jelly that had been placed across the back of it. During Ziggy's autopsy, they were unable to figure out what this green jelly was, and they ran dozens and dozens of tests on it. And also, during the autopsy, the coroner would determine that Ziggy had actually died the same day he had been found. So he was doing something for 5 days between going missing and being on this coal pile, but nobody knows what it was. And as for his cause of death, the coroner was not entirely sure, but it did seem like he died of a heart attack. The coroner would search all of Ziggy's body for signs of some sort of fight he might have gotten into, some sort of defensive wound on his body, but there was nothing. However, the coroner did find there were very small burns on the back of his neck that were caused by acid, but it was unclear how those got there. When they inspected Ziggy's stomach, they determined that he had been eating and drinking regularly, and so he was not malnourished, he was not dehydrated. He was relatively healthy when he died. He just had this heart attack for unknown reasons, and apparently whatever gave him the heart attack scared him so badly, his face contorted in that horrible way. Ultimately, the coroner just kind of gave up and ruled that Ziggy had died of natural causes, and then the case was closed. But to this day, no one really has any idea how Ziggy went from going out to get groceries to winding up 25 miles away, dressed differently, with this haircut, with this jelly on him and acid burns, dead with this horrible look on his face on this coal pile. It doesn't make any sense.
You definitely don't make any sense.
This case has become very famous because people say it is the best example of alien abduction. That Ziggy had left his house to get groceries, got abducted by aliens, and then over 5 days, these aliens did stuff to Ziggy, including cutting into his neck and dropping acid on him, and then they put that green stuff on the back of his neck. They dressed him the way they thought people dressed, in the suit, but they didn't really do it right, and then they literally just dropped him on top of this coal pile, which would explain why he didn't have soot all over him. He was dead, they dropped him, and he just landed on the top of the coal pile. And even if you think that's totally far-fetched, keep in mind, still today, we do not know what that green jelly compound was on the back of his neck. It's literally never been identified, and people have been trying to figure it out for 40 plus years. Also, it's worth noting that one of the responding police officers, Alan Godfrey, claimed to have seen a UFO within weeks of finding Ziggy Adamsky.
Whoa! What?
So that
Yo, hold up. So this, nah, bro. Listen, bro. Ooh. Bro, do you guys believe, again, bro, in aliens, bro? Do y'all feel like we're not alone? Do you feel like they're watching us, bro? Like this story is crazy. How can all this happen and nobody see nothing? Nobody see nothing. They don't see, like, come on, bro. The sky is a huge place. I mean, a huge damn, bro, like, come on. Somebody got to see something, bro. Like, unless they did some shit at, like, I don't know, because they said during the day, though. Like, it was during the day. Nobody seen nothing. Like, this is crazy, bro. Like, I believe in aliens, bro. Like, I feel like they're watching us, these UFOs. All this shit, bro, I believe in it, bro. Like again, a lot of people don't believe in it, but I'm one of those guys that's a believer, bro. I feel like that they're just like studying us and shit like that, like studying us, like what we do on a daily, know what I'm saying? Like aliens are way more smarter than aliens, than us humans, bro. I'm just saying, bro. Like, tell me how you guys feel about this, brother. Like, tell me, what y'all think happened, bro. Like, how did he end up happening? Like the story is crazy, and again, like they just drew it up as a natural, like natural causes of death. But can nobody explain that green stuff that was on his neck? Like, share, comment, subscribe, gang. Tell me how you guys feel about this video, man. Like, share, comment, subscribe, gang. And make sure you guys are tuned in when I drop another one for y'all, man. It's going to be dropping soon, man. And SRT gang, I am out this thing, man. Let's get it.